We're live.
We're just hanging out.
Hi, guys. We're live. And we have a lot to talk about. So we don't have time for this, small talk, chitter chatter. Let's get to it. Stars pregame Sunday night against the Detroit Red Wings. It's an original 6 team. Let's go. A Sunday, and it is hockey weather in Dallas. This is the Dlls Dallas Stars pregame show. We're live from the Lounge studio from American Airlines Center, and from some parts partially in Detroit-ish, suburban Detroit. This is the Dlls Dallas Stars pregame show. We've got Sean Shapiro, who obviously Detroit has had a less than stellar weekend sports-wise so far. We're hoping that continues tonight. Sam Nessler is over at American Airlines Center. He's going to give us the lineup news in just a few seconds. Craig Ludwig and I are sitting here in the studio again after doing our remote broadcast yesterday afternoon. And we, of course, extend a very hearty get well soon to our producer, John Anderson, who is not in tonight. Tanner Rotman, who is the Mavs producer, is filling in, ably, I might add. And we are ready to roll with this one. All right, Sam, we'll get to you and get you out of here for the warm-up that should commence in a few minutes' time. The lineup news is no changes except for Jake Oettinger will start in goal. It was a pretty heavy option. I was surprised they had any skate at all today after playing in Colorado yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, Oettinger getting the start. We talked a ton about the difference between starting yesterday and starting today. Pete didn't go much more into that today. He just kind of said, look, we started Jake against Montreal because of how well he played in Toronto at the end of that road trip. And then from there, it was kind of, he said there wasn't really a win-win in that. You look at this game as they're probably going to be a little tired. They're playing a really streaking Detroit team. And you look at yesterday as a divisional game against a really high-flying Colorado team on the road. So just kind of said, look, both guys are going to play. Both guys have played well. Jake's going to go tonight. I talked to Jake for a little bit after the skate, if you want to call it that, which was literally all tailored around warming up Jake Oettinger. It was 5 skaters out there doing drills for Jake, and that was about it. And I talked to Jake about his pregame routine. He said he loves to skate in the morning. He really didn't like when he missed morning skate against Montreal and ended up, he said he felt slow in that game for the first 5, 6, 7 minutes. So he talked a little bit about what he does, what he looks at. Sean, I know you'll love all this. He talks about he wants to see every shot that shouldn't go in a morning skate. That's how he likes to kind of analyze it. Get the shots down the wing from the sharp angles, get the shots from the spots that he should save to warm him up for those areas. And then he talks about his off-ice routine, which was so extensive, and we'll go into it more, maybe write about it. Me and Sean can combine on that one or something. But talked about all the work he does with different glasses that block out your peripherals, glasses that flash light in front of your face after you throw the ball against the wall to kind of react quicker in less time. All the different reaction balls he has. So fun talk with Jake that we'll write about more. But he's excited to get back in there, and he's been great for them. I think they're going to need him tonight.
Now I'm going to have to go talk to Jake because I swear that he, like his predecessor and mentor, Ben Bishop, told me he loves to take the option. I know Bishop was a big fan of not skating in the morning if he didn't have to. And I was pretty sure that Jake was the same way. Maybe he's changed his mind. And if that's the case, he's allowed to do that. But that's a little bit of surprise. There is a big lineup change, though, inside of just bringing Oettinger back in goal, Sam, and it involves Brendan Smith, who has not been playing a lot for Dallas. In fact, he's only played in 1 game in the team's last 14.
Yeah, first game since that MSG game January 7th, and I think it's the second game only since December 18th. So he's been sitting a lot. You can see how not agitated, but antsy he is to play. He comes out here sometimes and warms up in games that he's not even playing in just to get a little on the ice, get some touches. He stays after morning skates and practices late. I saw him today talking to Elaine Nazardine, the defensive coach, for a pretty long time, and I've seen that a few times throughout the season just from morning skates and practices. And it looks like Nazardine's kind of trying to keep his his energy up and keep his motivation and confidence and keep him ready to go for when he's needed. Because, like you said, he hasn't played a ton at all, and that's something that he's admitted has not been easy for him. I mean, even he was not a top 4, top 5 guy in New Jersey, but they still used him for 60, 63 games in his 2 seasons. This is well beyond that. I think he's still in the teens in games this year. He's not going to get anywhere near that 60 mark, probably, with the way they've been rotating. But the other side of it is neither one of these guys is grabbing a spot. Number 3 and number 2, Smith and Dumba. Dumba's going to come out for Smith again tonight, and just it feels like every time they go in, there's maybe a flash here or there, and then there's a flash the other way, or 3 or 4 flashes the other way. And I didn't think Dumba was great again yesterday. I thought he looked lost at times. Made a couple of great saves on the goal line, which was awesome, but it just feels like one of these guys has to grab it. And right now, it's more of we don't really have a solution, so we're putting in one of the 2 we have. Versus this has been the better guy, and I think that's kind of a important thing to note here while we get really close to that trade deadline.
It's a good thing Brendan Smith has played for a few teams, because it seems like he always goes into the lineup against a former team. Otherwise, he may not get in for months.
Yeah, if it wasn't a special moment or something, they'd be like, let's just keep Dumba.
Yeah, Smith's on pace for 53 games right now this year, which I don't have the career highs or lows, but for an 82 game season, I'm pretty sure that might be, healthy, might be a low for him, Sam.
I actually wouldn't be surprised if he played less than that if the Stars defensive course stays healthy.
Yeah,
I agree.
Sam, what did Pete say about Rope Hintz and Mason Marchment and the pregame availability about an hour ago?
Yeah, he said they were skating today in Frisco, so that's a good. He didn't really want to jump on and say it's good or bad. It just they were skating. Rope's been skating in Frisco while the team was on the road and down here playing at home. Mason, I believe this was either one of, if not the first time he's been skating up there. So it's good news, I guess you can look at it that way. It's good to see him on the ice. It's going to be something we kind of look for here, but Rope, Pete is still not convinced that he is ready anytime soon. So he just kind of still pushing it off day to day. They don't know. And we will sit here and say day to day, hopefully for only a few more days, but we've been here before. We really have no idea when Pete labels them day to day.
Well, the Yanni Hakanpää is still day to day right now. So it's,
yes.
The Yanni report.
Yanni's been day to day since like 3 months before the end of the regular season last year.
Yeah.
So that's Sean's joke. And finally, Sam, real quick, Matej Blumel gave you a nice little nugget today. How is he doing after having what he thought was his first goal in the NHL this season and second of his NHL career disallowed because of an offside challenge yesterday afternoon, I'd say?
Yeah, that was the first thing I asked him when I walked in. I was just like, what are your thoughts? And he said he had no idea it was offside. He actually thought when they went to start reviewing it that it was goalie interference because the scrum that was going on in front of the net. But he had no clue, and he said it hurt not only for him. Like he's been playing well, he's been getting closer and closer to scoring. So not only does it hurt him as a guy who really needs to score goals to try to stay up here, but it hurt the team. That could have, who knows what that game is if it turns 3-2 in that moment. They had a push going on. So it was a tough one to swallow for him, but talked to him a little bit about just his overall time here, and he's just talked about how it's felt more comfortable every game, and we've seen that. Pete's given more confidence. He's getting more ice time. He's kind of pushed himself, at least in my opinion, up to that level of that if Pete's going to bench somebody, he's not the first one there. It's helpful that there's 4 or 5 rookies in the lineup so that you don't have to be one of those guys, but I think he's deserved it, and he did tell me today, I asked him where he was staying while he was here, and he said he's living with the former star and longtime NHLer Ales Hemsky, who Luds knows, and I saw this Hemsky stall in the Farmers Branch alumni room when I skated there with Luds. So that was kind of cool to hear about. Another family taking in a player. He said it's been so much better than staying in a hotel. Not only to have, you got cooking, you got people to hang out with, you can play with the kids. He can talk to Ales about hockey whenever he wants. He says it's amazing to speak Czech, his native language. He's not able to speak that very much. Radek Faksa was a big one for him to kind of communicate and talk, and he's not in the organization anymore. So it seems like it's really helped his confidence and helped him. We've talked a ton. We know what that's big for, right? We know coming off a game when you're a young player, it can rattle around in your head. You can be thinking about it all night. It can lead into the next day. And these veteran or now retired guys are really good at helping you kind of leave the rink, at the rink, leave the game there, talk about it a little bit, analyze it all you want, but leave it, hang out, have a dinner, have some time with the kids, hanging out, and just relax a little bit more. And I think you're seeing that in his confidence. So I think that's really cool for him. Really cool way to learn from someone who did it for a very long time at a high level.
Emmer has 1 day off a week.
Does he?
He's on daddy duties. When you he's one of them. When
Is Friday his day off?
No, it's not. It's Wednesday. So
he doesn't skate?
He doesn't get to skate.
He doesn't
on a
get
lot
there
of
often.
Wednesdays. Yeah. So, yeah, mommy has said you've been doing this for how many every years it is. Now it's your turn to do this. And so
Seems fair.
Well, I shouldn't say he does come to the rink on other nights that we'll skate, but he'll be there with his son. Getting undressed and stuff like that. So,
Sam, sharpen your pencils. Get ready for the warm up. We appreciate it. Good stuff tonight.
All right, guys, enjoy the game.
All right, let's get to Sean and Luds now because they are going to go toe-to-toe, nose-to-nose. Actually, you probably agree with all your takes. But let's talk about this. The injuries are piling up. Rope Hintz will miss his third game. If you hear what Sam's saying and that tracks, then maybe it's going to be longer. Maybe he won't be ready to play against Carolina. We'll see. Maybe Pete's slow playing it a bit. Mason Marchment is going to miss his 12th straight game tonight. Sagan's up to 23. How is this affecting the roster?
well, I think we're seeing it that a lot of goals aren't going in the net. Timely goals, big goals, and you're having to lean on, your bottom six at times when you're not getting a lot out of them. I mean, besides Steele and Blackwell, the other four guys that are either in and out of the lineup have like a combined 6 goals in their careers. So I don't think, besides those two guys I just spoke of, I'm not sure that either one or anybody else that's been in there has really grabbed anything. I mean, Bork looked really good, I think, a week ago.
Yes.
He had some good games in there,
especially on that road trip.
Yeah, and then I looked the other night in the game in the first period. He only had like 4 minutes, and so I don't know if when you're it's really easy, I think, for coaches when things are going your way. Right now they've lost 3 or 4, whatever it is.
3 of the last 4. Yeah.
Now they kind of start, hey, we got to get back. We're climbing, we're trying to climb in. And what you do is you lean on your big guys to get going. And so, that's just the way it works.
Hey, Sean, as you have a dog most likely trying to pull off your sock or something.
I thought that was Tanner over there. I thought that was another soundbite Tanner's got.
I was freaking out. I was like, what is that sound?
All of a sudden the equipment is
What's
just
the
growling
new
at
guy
Tanner.
over here doing?
Poor producers just trying to make sure things stay on the road. But no, in all seriousness,
I've got the one dog is blind, and so she's rummaging around the. She is. She's rummaging around. She's rummaging around I'm in my wife's office. Using my wife's office right now for this because it's the Wi-Fi seems to be best in this spot, and the dog is very confused of why anyone is in here. So that was the you're not supposed to be here grunt from the dog. So
we can see who runs the show around there.
Kidding.
But Luddy had an interesting conversation with us in the post-game show last night about how he felt about how the game went in Colorado and the usage of the goaltenders. Now, you heard from Sam that they talked about wanting to get Jake in the game against the Canadiens because of how well he played against Toronto. Plus, he also won a shootout against Montreal the previous weekend. I totally get that, and I totally understand that they were aiming at having Jake play 2 of the 3 games Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, right? But why didn't they play him against the Avalanche and play Casey DeSmith tonight? Or to Luddy's point, they decided to go with Casey last night or yesterday afternoon. Why not lift him when the game started to get out of hand?
yeah, and I went through and I saw Ludz's commentary on this last night, and I see where Ludz is coming from on this. My bigger question goes back to the original one of why Jake didn't start that game. To me, all games are important. I get that and everything, and you want to win the game tonight against Detroit, but divisional game against Colorado, if in theory a team that you're going to have to play in a playoff game, isn't that what Jake Oettinger is paid the lots of money to go play and win those games? So I didn't understand. I get where Pete's like, oh, there's a lot of games, but you could play Oettinger in the divisional game to me, which means a little bit more in the grand scheme of things. So
Sean, let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
Wasn't there his last start that last game that he played, did he take the morning skate off? Remember
Against Montreal, he did not go out in the morning skate.
do you think that
And everybody said it was for it was his choice or whatever.
But he's also the guy that says he likes to go out there for morning skates.
That's why I said I got to go corner
so
him and ask.
do you think there could be a little boo-boo that he just needed a game off to heal up
morning
a
skate
little
off.
or something. I
Yeah.
don't know.
There could be. Hey, you know what? Jake and Jeff Reese are like, you know what? I'm feeling a little sore after
Yeah.
the last one, and him and Jeff Reese could have the conversation. Okay, well, maybe the original plan, and it's completely possible, as maybe the original plan was for Jake to play in Colorado, and him and Jeff Reese were like, you know what? Let's give him an extra 24 hours to heal and
And
take
he was
a little
good
bit
against
of a break.
Montreal, right? They didn't lose that
Yeah.
game because of Jake Oettinger.
Right.
Yeah. So to me, it's I'd love the truth serum for the actual reason behind it. And Pete DeBoer's being a lawyer about it right now, and that's what Pete is. He's a hockey coach who also happens to be a lawyer, and or one way or flip it around. Either way, I'd love the truth serum, and I think last night it probably cost them. Honestly, I think the way Casey DeSmith played last night. Now, whatever happens, it's in the past. So now you move on, and Jake Oettinger plays this one, fine. But to me, last night, unless there's a better reason that we're going to get, I don't understand Jake Oettinger not playing the divisional game.
And I think you want him in that one because he
Yeah.
loves to be on the road as well. And the team
Oh,
is
and
good.
and
Like,
that's
all
why
the things add up except for he didn't play.
and that's why he's paid like a top 5 goalie in the world. That's why he goes and gets the big contract. You go and play those tough games. So
I was just going to say, when you're talking about, and Sean, you said, you know,
Yeah.
Pete being in lawyer speak.
yes.
Does it
Yes.
surprise you sometimes? And I think I've always said this, like, Pete seems very positive after, you know, regardless of how things go. I'm not used to that. I've had coaches that know you can say that players don't read the papers. I know they don't read the papers anymore because there are no more papers, but they don't read the headlines, or they don't Google it, or they don't have it come across their Twitter feed or whatever it is, or you don't watch the news or any of that kind of stuff. Well, that's not true. They do. They hear things, they see things, reporters come out. Do you think he talks when it takes the high road all the time? Do you think he's the same way with the players? Like in the room alone?
Yeah, I don't think so. And it's the public handling of it is fascinating to watch, especially with them playing Detroit tonight. Obviously, a team I know really well, and the Red Wings are now 11 games into the coaching change of Todd McLellan. Before when Derek Lalonde was the coach in Detroit, we never heard anything critical about a player after a game. Never. It was very much, everything was always, even if there was it would be very rare, and it was never anything blunt. Earlier this week, Justin Hall plays an absolutely horrible game, and he gets benched, doesn't play the final 5 to 6 minutes of the game. Todd McLellan gets asked about, hey, we didn't see Justin Hall at the end of the game. And Todd McLellan goes into a full-on, Justin Hall was horrible tonight. He knows he was horrible. I'm telling you guys, I'm going to tell him all about that tomorrow. And that's the difference between the public perception this Red Wings team has had. One of the big things that, beyond obviously the power play there, one of the other big things that sparked the Red Wings getting back into this Eastern Conference wildcard race is effectively having someone who's brought some more fire. It was a very mundane, quiet team, and Todd McLellan has brought that attitude publicly. He's brought it a little bit more loudly in practice. And so I expect Pete, to me, is a little bit, he tends to tone it down a little bit in public. It's not that he's not saying those things to the players in private, but I do think he's kind of in a little bit of that gray area where there are times that he expects players to figure it out, maybe without being as blunt with them himself sometimes, from what I've heard and understand. So it's kind of
I think if you're going to take that path, and sometimes it may be calculated because you know you've got a good team, and when everybody's healthy, it's a good team, and so we don't need to go to the whip yet. But players do care what their fans and the public hear, and it's kind of nice to not. You can have I've always said, like, if you want to have a meeting with a player and it's a heart-to-heart player, when you do it behind closed doors with him, it's one thing, because he can walk out of that room and all your teammates are sitting there, and you can actually say what you want to say. You can tell them whatever you want. You don't have to tell
the narrative.
Well, you can kind of sugarcoat it a little bit, but when you get called out by your coach in front of your teammates, now they've heard it, and now you've got to kind of hold yourself accountable to those guys and what your response is, which is more important. It's more important to hold yourself accountable to your teammates than it is for your coaches or your, if I said wife, everybody get all pissed off about that. But I mean, that's the guys that you live and die with is in that room. And so your accountability, at least in our area, it's to those guys. And so sometimes I just wonder if the conversations that are being told to the press, and again, this press is nowhere near. He'd never get away with this stuff in Toronto.
Not a chance.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
And so that's a luxury, I
But
think, for the coaches.
to your point, isn't that what all great coaches are trying to do? They're trying to, especially in the professional ranks, is to get the players caring more about their teammates than about themselves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, until you do, you don't have a team. I mean, when you get individual, I mean, you and I were just talking before we got started here. There's been times where we've had players, and they're great players, but they were in other teams where they were the player, and they weren't accountable to their teammates. It was more about what I do on a nightly basis and things like that. And I had a couple calls from general managers before players would come and say, "Luds, we're thinking about this guy. What do you think? Can we handle it?" And I'm like, I said yes every time because I knew the guys that we had. I mean, when you got Nieuwendyk and Carbonneau and Hatcher and Metz and Mike Keane, and I could go down the list, like there is never going to be one guy that's not going to be part of our group. And so we would be able to do as much as we can and to get them to kind of conform with what we're trying to do as a team.
Guys, let's talk lines real quick because it's Sean's favorite thing, and he'd be upset with me if we didn't. Tanner, if you would show us the Stars forward line card. It's wrong already, guys, because they're moving things around a little bit. Sam just tweeted out what he saw in the warm-up. The top line is untouched, and that's probably correct because Robertson and Johnston and Dadonov were very good against Colorado. The second line is going to be Jamie Benn, Matt Duchene, and Maverick Bourque on the right wing. The third line will be Oscar Beck on the left with Sam Steele centering and Logan Stankoven playing on the right. And then Justin Ritzkovian is going to center the fourth line with Matej Blumel on the left and Colin Blackwell on the right. I have to ask you your initial thoughts about that.
This is all what happens when things aren't going your way. That's what I was talking about. Now things start getting juggled around, and it seems to be Logan is the guy that, and I feel for him. He's gone from up here to this one, to this one, to that one, to this one. But again, I think it's because they know how he's going to play on every shift. I think it's lending more. Are you trying to get Bourque going because you're going to play him with Duchene and Ben, or is it more that he can lend to Matt Duchene? Because I don't know if Matt Duchene is getting the pucks that Matt. And again, it's not. You're not going to find anybody that was, Marchman on one side and Seguin on the other. But I'm just wondering if they think that Maverick can be more of a playmaker for Matt Duchene.
Are you ready for this line, Sean? You'll love this from Sam. A nice little nugget from our beat writer. Robo to Bourque today while he was doing off-ice stuff. Quote, "I see how it is. You're in the top 6 now, so you don't skate." That's a good little chirp from Jason Robertson, who, by the way, has to be dragged off the ice. He's one of those guys that just wants to be out there all the time. Defense is going to be essentially the same. Tanner, if you'd show us the Stars defense, please. Look at that. It looks like, actually, you know what?
Uh-oh.
Nope, I'm wrong. Esa Lindell will play on the left with Miro Heiskanen on the right. Luddy's favorite pairing.
My favorite pair.
Followed by Thomas Harley with Ilya Lyubushkin, and then Brendan Smith will play on the left with Nils Lundqvist on the right. What do you think about that?
I think when you're at home and you have the last match or the last change, you get your guys, your pair out there who do you want them out there with. And so there's going to be a lot of whether he wants them against Kane or, depending on who they want them out there against. That's the luxury of putting those two guys together.
So you notice I asked you about these because he loves to talk about Stars line combinations.
I know.
Oh yeah. I also think with that defense pair too, one of the things with Detroit, the power play is one of the reasons that it's been cooking at actually a historical rate. But the other thing is the team has been so heavily driven by the Raymond Larkin line, and so
go ahead and show that, Tanner, while Sean continues this.
Yeah.
Go the Detroit forwards, please. Go ahead, Sean.
The Detroit line offense has been so heavily driven by that line with Larkin and Raymond. Casper's been playing on it recently. They've switched a couple times. Joe Veleno was up there earlier, but it's like that line drives so much for Detroit at 5-on-5. And Kane has been better. Tarasenko has been better since the coaching change, but a lot of that has been power play driven. At even strength for the Red Wings, if you can control and limit that Larkin-Raymond line, you're going to have a much better chance of success. So when you look at kind of that Esamiro pairing, Luds, I expect matchup-wise to watch tonight with that last change. You're going to see a lot of them whenever Larkin and Raymond are going over. You're going to see Miro and Esa against that. Like, that's something I'm watching tonight with that because it's a team that it's a team that's built a little like remember when the Stars were a very top heavy team. Detroit is kind of in that stage of their build right now where they don't have the scoring depth all the way through, so they have to rely so much on that top trio.
Yeah, when you look at that, I see pairs. That's what I see. I see, Larkin and Raymond, and there's a good chemistry there. They both do different things that accommodate each other. And then Cat and the other guy, so Kane, those guys have been together for a long time.
From their Chicago days.
Yeah, so they Patrick knows him like that, and vice versa. And it's amazing to see where some of those passes that Patrick Kane will throw over to DeBrincat in certain areas of the ice that you probably wouldn't give to anybody else, and there's a way that DeBrincat can get it on net and get it off as quick as he does. So there's some chemistry for McLellan with those couple of pairs there.
All right, let's look at the defense and goaltender for Detroit. Sean, walk us through this group and obviously what's been going on with Alex Lyon.
Yeah, this is Lyon's first start since January 7th, but he plays the full game tonight, first full 60 since January 4th. He got hurt. It was a game against Ottawa on January 7th. Played the first period, didn't let up any goals on 10 shots, took himself out of the game with the injury, and then didn't return to the lineup again until last night against Tampa when Cam Talbot struggled in the first two periods. Then Lyon came in the third period. So Lyon's making his first start since January 7th, first potential full game since January 4th. And I looked up the numbers. I was curious. Lyon, since the coaching change, aside from his availability, has been Todd McLellan's best option in goal. He stopped since the coaching change. He stopped 87 of 93 shots. He's 3-0 in his 3 starts. He's got obviously the 2 appearances where he didn't record a win or loss because of that. So he comes back in. Played last night, was perfect in the third period against Tampa. Very interesting to see where he goes. One of those where if you're the Stars, about goalie coming in, you want to kind of test him earlier. See, big thing with this Detroit team, and if you haven't watched him, is so much of the success on this defense runs through how well Moritz Seider and Simon Edvinsson play. And there's been times they've been paired together and then they've done pretty well. And it's funny to look at the build in Detroit. Yzerman has gone and brought in a lot of veteran defensemen at times to try and solidify things. And it hasn't worked at times. And it's effectively moved Seider and then Edvinsson into roles that were probably higher than their station should have been at this point in their careers. And so if you're a Dallas fan, you're watching and you think about early, and neither is as good as Miro Heiskanen. Let's not get that wrong at all. This is not comparing either of them to being as good as Miro Heiskanen was, a 19-year-old or anything like that, but very similar in the build of they have had to step into that role as younger players and carry the load. And obviously Seider's getting paid like it now too, that they have to carry this load and really get things going because some of those other veteran signings haven't really panned out the way they have. So it's an interesting group. So watch those two tonight as well with the Wings.
All right, we're almost out of time, but we have to talk about one of the biggest storylines for Detroit over the coaching change is their power play. They have gone from a very respectable 22.5% with Derek Lalonde as the head coach, which was tied for the 10th best power play in the NHL. Top 10, that's fine, right? That's not bad at all. Stars would kill for top 10 right now overall, at least overall, because their road is excellent. Yeah. Then they went, here comes McLellan. He barked at them for saying, have you all forgotten how to play? Just play hockey out there. And
he said play. I mean, lads, we're not allowed to say it on TV because we're on TV, but it was a very.
If you want me to say it, I'll say it. Okay.
Are we gonna break TV rule? Either way, play F in hockey is the rule. That was the calling.
You like how Sean had to
do you want me to say the other part of it for you or no?
No,
I don't know if
we're trying to be good here.
Okay.
So think about this.
I've been good for months.
11 games under McLellan. Their power play is now 18 for 40. 45%. It went down last night because they went 1 for 6 against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Why have they been so good?
Because guys are taking penalties against them. like if you're asking me, how do you beat this team tonight? Stay out of the box. I mean, they again, I talk about chemistry, the way they move around and things like that. Passes that go through lanes, and I see how they kill penalties, which I don't like, but that's a good news for Dallas. But I mean, you look at it. Here, Larkin's got 11 power play goals. DeBrincat's got 8 power play goals. Kane's got 6 power play goals. Raymond's got 5. That's 30. Now, compare it to Dallas. Duchesne 5, Robertson 4, Johnston 2, Benn 1. That's 12. Stay out of the box.
The whole team for Dallas has 4 fewer than those 4. They have 26 as a group.
So think about it this way, guys. How many did the Stars have so far this season? What was
26.
the number? 12? 26. Okay. So the Red Wings have 18 in their last 10 games, which is more than the Ducks, King, and Islanders all have this entire season. Like, to give you an idea of kind of the run this is on. And the big thing, the power play was good before the coaching change, but the big thing that really changed with the power play, and credit to my good friend Prashant Thayer for pulling the numbers on this for me. So since the coaching change, the Red Wings are getting more shots from the slot than any other team. They're averaging almost 2.5 shots from the slot for every 2 minutes on the power play. They're getting they're getting more successful offensive zone passes than any team in the NHL during that time. They're breaking teams down. They're getting pucks to the middle. And the other big thing is they're just retrieving pucks. That was something when this Detroit team has struggled. And it's something that will still happen on the penalty kill. The penalty kill is a little bit better, but it was awful before the coaching change. So watch that with Detroit tonight with the penalty kill. Is they're now getting to the slot and they're getting those pucks back, and they are just winning those battles. It's very classic skill plus will, or whatever terminology you want to use, where it's all coming together now. And of course, it'll slow down a little bit at some point. There's no way something clicks at 45% all the time, but you got to be careful with this team.
They get the puck in the middle of the ice and they move the puck around. Watch how they move the puck. It doesn't stay on somebody's stick long. I mean, they're connected. They got 5 guys that are connected.
You're saying there's not a lot of dusting it off and waiting. And
no,
sort
and you
of
don't get to the
shifting
top and
places.
move it down to the left, get to the top, move it down to the right, go down to the goal line, go back up to here on the perimeter. They find, and what they do is they move around in the slot. And so that shot becomes available, that shot pass and, things like that. And that loosens up and it gets your penalty kill kind of scrambling around a bit. Next thing you know, when the puck comes back, what happens is if you want to be an aggressive penalty kill, the puck is moving past you as you're going. And that's what they do.
And isn't it amazing if you get the penalty kill scrambling, what can happen? But the showdown tonight is Stars have the number 1 rated penalty kill in the NHL and they are by far better at home than they are on the road, to the tune of 92% PK at home versus about 78 on the road.
Don't press your luck though. Try to kill 2 of them tonight. 2 or 3, that's it.
It would be a feat because they've scored in almost all 11 games that McLellan's been in charge. For Sean Shapiro and for Craig Ludwig, I'm Owen Newkirk, and of course for Sam Nessler at the AAC. And a big thank you to our producer, Tanner. We'll be back for a full post-game wrap-up right after the game.
Can I say that word now?
No.
No? Damn.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.